Hello and welcome back to ERU, where we round up the biggest results and talking points from around European football. Happy 2021, people. We are back, we are live, and I'm joined by Henry Hill. Henry, how was your break?
Dougie, it's lovely to hear your voice again. No, it's great, thank you. I've watched, I reckon, about 25 films in 12 days. I reckon I've been going at 2.5 films a day. So yeah, I'm feeling refreshed and ready to go. What about yourself? Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, it was very good. I'm intrigued though. What was your top film before we get back to the football? What was the best one you watched?
Oh, you know what? I've been meaning to watch it for a while. I watched The Witch, or it's spelled with two V's sometimes, The Vitch, which is about this Puritan kind of witch spookiness. It's this like low budget kind of horror, but it's so good. It's on Film 4. Recommend you seek it out if you can. It was like including everyone's top 10, but I honestly couldn't sleep for about a few hours after, which wasn't great, but but I guess that was the whole point of it. Yeah, good fun.
Yeah, I'm not good with scary films, but I'll have to check it out at some stage. But anyway, let's get back to the football, because our winner today is the big talking point from around Europe over the last few weeks. It's Mauricio Pochettino. Why is that, Henry?
Yes, the Argentine boss is finally back in business after it was announced that he will be taking over as Thomas Tuchel's successor. That happened last Saturday. Obviously, it'd been bubbling around in a while. The second when Tuchel left, and it's all gone through. And it's a really nice kind of return to. I think it's a great place for him to go back to. You know, it was 48-year-old spent 2 years there as a player, and he signed a 2.5-year deal. And you know, this is his chance to finally, I think, get some silverware under his belt. Because let's face it, he probably will. And he's back somewhere clearly that he loves, and he knows the facilities, so it's great. And yeah, it's been an interesting period, because I guess we were all wondering where he might go. It's been about 13 months since he was relieved of his duties at Tottenham, and I certainly thought that he was holding out for the Manchester United job. I think a lot of us thought he was kind of waiting to see how that would develop, but credit to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he sort of stuck with it and he's kept going there. And then there were discussions with Benfica over in Portugal, potential for him to join Monaco, but then I think that job went to Robert Kovac, and he was always looking for, I think, that really big job. No disrespect to those previous two clubs mentioned, but I think it was always looked like it might be a Premier League return, or at least to somewhere in Spain. Yeah. But you know, PSG, it's a huge job, and it's not going to be easy for him. Because this season, Thomas Tuchel's side had lost 4 of their opening 17 league games of the season. That's one more than they lost in 27 games last term, and they're currently 7 points worse off than they were at this stage last year. You know, Lyon and Lille are both turned up this season. Even Marseille are pushing the clubs close, and you know, this is reflected in the table. Really, they're 1 point behind the leaders Lyon, who are ahead of Lille on goal difference. That can all change very quickly as the weeks go by. But yeah, he's got really interesting kind of first game back in. St Etienne, who sort of blow hot and cold, I think that's fair to say. And they're 14th in the table, so that's maybe an opportunity for him to sort of establish some confidence in the team and get a win under his belt. But then, and I'm actually quite looking forward to this game, especially after how spicy their last meeting was. If we remember that, multiple red cards. I think we were even texting through that to see. It was quite exciting. And yeah, they're taking on Marseille in the Trophée des Champions, which is the equivalent of the Community Shields in the UK. So that could be a really exciting, explosive game to welcome him back into management. And like we said, it's really great to have him back on the touchline. But I guess we can't really discuss Pochettino without touching on the man that he is replacing, Thomas Tuchel. Because what kind of bizarre end there after everything that's sort of gone on.
Absolutely, yeah. He was appointed in June 2018, and I think by all accounts, most people would say it was a resounding success, at least on the pitch. They won 2 league titles by 16 and 12 points. Of course, the 12-point one could have been even more, but they were only able to play 27 games last year before the season was curtailed. They also won the French Cup and the French League Cup, and he won 74.8% of his matches, a figure only topped by Unai Emery's 76% in the club's history. But his most notable achievement, of course, was taking PSG past the quarter-final stage for the first time since 1994-95, before they lost to Bayern Munich 1-0 in the final. And that was a That was a fantastic run. They put in some great performances, showed some real grit as well. And considering the spending under Tuchel probably hasn't been as extravagant as under Emery and his predecessors, I actually think Tuchel did a really good job. He created a much more balanced squad, a squad with a much more sort of conservative, gritty style in midfield as well. And they got some really good results. But this year, it hadn't gone so well. And of course, with tensions arising between him and sporting director Leonardo, he then said he felt more like a politician than a coach, although he then claimed he was mistranslated, and with the results not being up to scratch, he was then shown the door. Now, in terms of his next job, there's speculation over the Christmas period that he's being lined up by Chelsea, who of course had another humbling defeat at the hands of Man City yesterday in the Premier League. I don't think that's going to happen just yet, but maybe at the end of the season, who knows? And there's certainly a lot for Pochettino to deal with in his in-tray. I mean, he's obviously worked with top players before, but he's never worked with this sort of level of superstar in Neymar and Mbappe. And in just 43 days' time, they take on Barcelona in the last 16, which, with Barcelona and PSG's form this year being a bit shaky, it's really going to be an absolute slugfest, and we'll see who comes out on top. But I think the pressure will really be on PSG to get a win there. Definitely. And off the pitch, there's lots to deal with as well, with the futures of Kylian Mbappe and Neymar up for grabs. According to L'Equipe, PSG are ready to finalise a new deal for 22-year-old Mbappe amidst interest from Liverpool and Real Madrid. Poch, of course, sees him as central to his vision. Of course, who wouldn't? And Le Parisien claim he wants to bring Messi to the Parc des Princes, which will no doubt excite his former teammate Neymar, who has been sort of threatening to leave ever since he got there. Although, having said that, bit of credit where it's due. Last 18 months under Tuchel, he seemed like he'd really developed himself as a leader and player, and is playing probably the best football of his time at Paris Saint-Germain. And yeah, getting back to that sort of 13-15 Barcelona form. And with Di Maria's contract set to expire on July the 1st, so Pochettino as a fellow Argentine has a decision to make there. There is plenty for him to sort out. I mean, Henry, if you had to get your mystic ball out, and I know you're very good at these predictions, do you think Pochettino will end up with one trophy this year, 2 trophies? Do you think Mbappe and Neymar will stay? What are your sort of predictions for PSG for 2021?
I think 2 trophies is kind of almost the minimum expectation. I think they've got to win. They've got to win the title. I still do think they probably will win the title. Because it's a really interesting job, isn't it? Because it doesn't sound like Tuchel had much of an issue with the players themselves. They certainly in the Champions League turned up for him, and I think they pulled through and got the results they needed to drag themselves through to the next round there out of a very tricky group. Let us not forget. So, and yeah, it's going to clearly the main issue here really was with Tuchel's relationship with Leonardo. So it's going to be interesting to see how Pochettino can get the players on board with his project. Because I think from everything I understand, Tuchel was a great kind of manager. He was just a really difficult guy to deal with in certain other regards when it came to like the management level. So yeah, I think this is an amazing opportunity for him to win some trophies. And to be fair, if he does do it this year, if he can win the league title this year, then he can say, well, hey, look, when I took the job, we were in 3rd, and if we finish in 1st, then that's like even special credit to his abilities as a coach. Yeah, I think it's a great choice of manager. I think it's a pretty sort of, I don't think it should upset the apple cart, as they say. That's such an old-fashioned saying. That's when you know I've been watching a 16th century Puritan movie when I'm saying that kind of thing. But I think 2 trophies is like a minimum expectation, starting with that Trophy de Champion.
Absolutely. I think if I got my crystal ball out for Neymar and Mbappe's future, I think Mbappe might leave, but I think there's actually a very good chance that Messi joins Neymar in Paris next season. But guys, what do you think is going to happen at PSG? Do you think Pochettino is going to be a success? And do you feel a little bit sorry for Tuchel? Let us know in the comments down below. And let's move on to our loser.
So our loser this week comes in from Serie A. It's Sassuolo, and this was sent in by @Fords Ashley. What a stinker result they had this weekend, Dougie.
Yeah, their poor form continued as they were ripped apart by Atalanta 5-1 with goals from Zapata ×2, Pessina, Gosens, Luis Muriel with a late Vlad Kirikesh consolation as well, who was sporting a new shaven head, looked very smart, but it wasn't it didn't change the result in this one. His side was still dominated. So 10 days after their 3-2 victory over Sampdoria, you'd have thought they'd be sufficiently rested. This is Sassuolo, but they were absolutely decimated here. They allowed Atalanta 23 shots with 7 on target to their 10 and 4. And after going unbeaten through the first 8 games of the season with 5 wins and 3 draws, they sat second on the 22nd of November, just 2 points behind Milan. But since then, they've won just 2 of their 7 league games, conceding 13 goals in that run, and they're now 6th, 11 points off AC Milan. So their form is very much plummeting, and it's little wonder when they defend like this. It was one of those classic games where you watch the highlights and all the defenders are looking at each other. No one knows where to look. No one knows who to blame. They were all at sea. The gaps between their midfield and defence were just massive. The coordination, the communication, just dreadful. There were so many holes. And they ended up conceding 3.5 expected goals whilst only creating 0.5. And this has been a problem for Roberto De Zerbi's side all season. Whilst they've been, fantastic going forward with Caputo, Berardi and Jeremy Boga, creating so many opportunities for them. At the other end, not so great. Only Cagliari concede more than their average of 16.1 shots per game, and they've got the 12th best defence according to expected goals. And they'll really need to tighten up if they want to match or even better their best ever Serie A finish since being promoted in 12-13, which was 6th in 15-16. So worrying times for Sassuolo. But really, Henry, we've got to talk about Atalanta and Gasperini because this was a perfect start to 2021.
That's correct. I mean, Atalanta have been kind of blowing hot and cold this year. They've been inconsistent. They've already lost 3 league games this season. That's half their total from last year, and that's despite only playing 36% of the league campaign so far. But I mean, like you said, what an explosive start to the year. They're now unbeaten in their last 5 league games, beating Fiorentina, Roma and Sassuolo. So that's certainly the latter 2 of the kind of teams they need to be beating if they want to progress up the table. And they've scored 12 goals in those 3 games, so a return to that kind of free-flowing form that we remember for them. Yeah, like we said, it hasn't always been easy from this season. Their 21 goals conceded is only the 7th best in Italy. And they've got this crucial last 16 tie against Real Madrid, albeit not the most prolific scorers, but certainly a team that know how to sort of create chances and find the back of the net. And that's coming up against Real Madrid next month. A really exciting, intriguing matchup there. But a lot of the players are looking like they're coming to the fore for Atalanta. You've got Remo Freuler, who's continued his excellent season of 8 tackles and interceptions. That's huge. 1 aerial duel win, a dribble and 3 key passes, and of course 2 assists. He's now got 5 goal contributions in 17 games this season. I completely agree with you, Dougie. From what I saw, Sassuolo just never looked complete breakdown, lack of confidence. Zapata's second goal, just far too easy for him to score.
So easy, wasn't it?
And even the 5th goal, just the way they passed through that side is frankly embarrassing. And if we look at their team, 23-year-old defensive midfielder Maxime Lopez, he's on loan from Marseille. He may have to shoulder a bit of blame for that. He had an absolute stinker. 0 tackles, 0 interceptions, 0 aerial duel wins, and 0 dribbles. Just 22 passes completed. That's my favourite selection.
Oh, Maxime.
Yeah, that's my favourite selection of stats I've read alongside. But yeah, man of the match in the game has to go to Duvan Zapata. I love this striker. I think he looks brilliant. He's kind of he's got a little bit of everything. 1 tackle, 5 aerial duel wins, dribble, key pass, 6 shots and 2 goals. He's got a lot of conviction. Is the way he strikes. I think he's just
he hits the ball bloody hard.
He does. Be a bit nervous if I was a keeper coming up against that. But yeah, he's not. He's been fairly present throughout the season. 8 goals and 5 assists in 20 league and UCL games this term. And it looks like he's only heating up as well. And that's really good for them because they've got to sort out Papu Gomez's future. This looked like it could be a kind of destabilising influence on the side. But, Ilicic has really returned to form as well. He scored that amazing goal a few weeks back, kind of flip-flap through the defence. He's really turning up. And for Ladea, they've now got Parma at home on Wednesday. So yeah, they've got another big game kind of coming up, and let's hope they can continue that form because, like we said, we want them to go into that game against Real Madrid playing as well as they can. But anyway, let's move on to this week's Star of the Week.
Okay, it's time for Star of the Week, the first one of 2021, and it's a cracker actually. It's Lautaro Martinez at the suggestion of Londinho. Why is that, Henri?
So, Lautaro Martinez scored a brilliant hat-trick as Inter Milan recovered from 2-2 to thrash Crotone 6-2 at the San Siro we talk about Lautaro Martinez. Certainly in 2019, I think 2020, sorry, he popped up a lot on our radar. We're regularly sort of pitching him as a potential Messi or Luis Suarez replacement at Barcelona. But this was actually his first Serie A hat-trick. And he hasn't actually been as prolific as perhaps like a striker with £100 million price tag would suggest. But in this game, he really showed what he was all about. 1 dribble, 3 key passes, 7 shots, 5 on target, and obviously that hat-trick as well. Now has 9 goals and 3 assists in 15 league games this term. So that's really boosted his statistics there. I mean, I'll be honest, if I'm going to be a bit critical, I'd say the Crotone keeper could have done a bit more. I think he kind of helped him out a little bit. He didn't look great. But I mean, for Martinez, he's now got 23 league games to score 6 more goals, and improving on his tally of 14 last term, which, like I said, isn't as prolific, especially when you consider Lukaku, who obviously was once again on the score sheet, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we can't just talk about Lautaro Martinez, despite him being our star of the week, because Lukaku, as Henry says, was absolutely lethal. He scored 1 and assisted another. I mean, he has now been involved in 59 goals in his first 70 games for Inter Milan in all competitions. That's really an incredible record, and considering their struggles in the Champions League in particular since he arrived, that's a really, really impressive record. And it was great to see Brozovic back to his best as well. Another player that I kind of expected more from in the Champions League this campaign. Didn't quite produce the goods, but here he was back to his best. 6 tackles and interceptions, 2 aerial duels, 2 key passes, 3 shots and 1 assist. Inter are on a serious run, actually. They put that European disappointment behind them. They now won 8 consecutive Serie A games, scoring 24 goals in the process, and they're now second in Serie A, 1 point off AC Milan, and now 6 ahead of third place Roma. So it now feels like it's kind of a 2-horse race, although Juventus are in pretty good form as well, despite that humbling at the hands of Fiorentina over the Christmas period as well. So I'm really excited for Serie A in 2021. I think it's going to be an epic contest between the two sort of traditional clubs of Italian football and two sort of former giants that have had difficult times of it, at least in the league in the last few years. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating. Sorry, I nearly swallowed fascinating there. Who do you guys think is going to win Serie A this season? Let us know in the comments down below. And that's all we've got time for on ERU for the first ERU of 2021. What did you guys think of the show? What did you make of our comments? Let us know in the comments section. And Henry, what would you like? What would you recommend that they go and watch now, I should say?
Ooh, I think we've got a top 10 on EFT about Lone Stars that your club should be looking at. So obviously the transfer market, I believe, is open. Is that right? I think it is.
It is officially open.
Guess what our content's going to be about for the next month. But yeah, have a look at that. Some really interesting names and suggestions in there.
Absolutely. Go check out all our Christmas content across all our 3 channels. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.